Welcome to the Coach Speak podcast, built for coaches, by coaches, hosted by Jamie Bolton and Dustin Martin. Sponsored by Ray Crowther, providing the nation's best athletic training equipment since 1932. And R4 Football Systems. Accelerate everything by decoding the game.
Coach, welcome on.
Guys, appreciate you having me, guys. I've been listening to y'all every week now with Coach Speak, and hey, I appreciate everything y'all doing, man. It's nice to have so many different faces y'all got on learning football, and hey, I'm just happy to be on with some of these great guys y'all had.
Nah, man, we're super excited, Coach, to pick your brain. You know, you got strength background, OC background, and OL background. So if you just switch to the dark side, you're a Swiss Army knife. I mean, every head coach says they want an OL guy, a strength guy, and a DC. So you can do all three, man. You're a 1A coach's like hero if you came on.
I need to go. I've had people talk to me about the dark side. I might need to go over there one day.
Hey man, let me tell you, it changes your thinking on the run fit. I'll tell you that. When you're trying to fit runs, you think about every run. But Coach, we're going to start off tonight a little bit different for our listeners. We're going to get a rapid fire question out the way. So the first thing we want to pick your brain before we get into our segments is, if you had to score points tomorrow with no install, what's your day one run and your go-to pass pro?
My day one run is going to be, I'm going to run GT counter. I'm going to run a different variation off GT counter. That's going to be my day one run. I did that back at Olympic, man. We ran that no lie, we ran that play and ran variations off of it the whole year. We didn't even run another play. Like, we ran it all year and ran for almost 3,000 yards.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's
did
wild.
Did you do any of like the GT counter and then the H come the opposite way of the pull for like boot and stuff?
We did that. We did the arrow stuff. We did the bash. We did it all. Quarterback counter. And honestly, man, it messes so much up with the reads for the linebackers, man. And the motioning you can do out of it with it, I liked it a lot. But I'm a big GT guy if I can. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like a lot of other run schemes, but I just think that you can really mess with the linebackers and fronts with that and their fits.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Man, I'll tell you, the GT counter stuff with that H-back slipping the opposite way, I mean, that's tough. And then if you run, like you said, so many different variations.
Yeah, we majored out of that at Cannon. That was our big run. We were a one-back team. Yeah. So that was like kind of our one-back gap scheme that we ran. But yeah, man, I love it. We run it this year. And if you got a running quarterback too, that can definitely be an
if you got that, man, you cooking.
Seventh dimension, as they say. Well, Coach, man, it's good to have you on. Coach, talk to us a little bit about, kind of in college, you played in college. How does that kind of impacted your career right now?
Man, playing at Coastal Carolina, it was, a great experience. I played with Coach David Bennett. He was the head coach, and had a really good O-line coach. He was very, very much a fiery guy. Technical compared to where I come from, because obviously where I came from, man, we ran wing T, so it's kind of like you get to college, it's like a different world. Zone and pass pro, and it's like, man, we block down, kick out. So it was a lot different, but I loved it. It made me think a lot more, being there. And I wanted to be a coach. I was always around coaches, and I had in my high school head coach, he was really, close to me. So it made my decision to go that way. And the big thing about college football, man, that I love so much was it was always a challenge each and every day. I think when you get into college football, and especially that time and the age that I was at, I mean, he was still doing two-a-days. You were getting up early. You were doing those things, and it was a grind, man. It was a grind, and I loved everything about it because I love football.
All right, and so were you a dog or were you a cat? Is that the old David Bennett deal now?
That's a good one. I would assume I was a dog. If you talk to Coach Bennett, he might think I was something else. But yeah, I would have thought I was a dog.
Got your wristbands on. You got your shirt on.
Yeah, I didn't have to worry about it. Yeah, he wouldn't be called me cat. I didn't have all that stuff on.
That's one of the greatest ones of all time. So my grandfather was the head football coach at Sherrall High School, and David Bennett played for my grandfather, and my mom went to school with David. So we actually got to see them when he was the AD it was River Bluff, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was at River.
Yeah, he was the head coach first, and then
became AD. So that was in the playoffs. We got to see him and kind of reconnect. And he was asking about my family, so that was really cool. Dave Bennett's, man, what a legend.
Yeah, for real, Coach. So you coached OL before you became an OC, correct?
Yep.
So what would you say the biggest change was? You coach OL, you get your first OC gig, and then you go back, you're coaching OL now. You help with run game and all that. What do you see now that you didn't see before being an OC at the OL play?
I think the big thing now would, I'll admit to it. Like before I became an OC, I did do O-line, but also I jumped around. I did receivers and I did quarterbacks, and I did that because I feel like if you're going to call it, you need to really dabble in all of it. You need to be able to know it and see it. But, being an O-line play now and doing it and being the OC like before, you got to know what everybody else is doing. Even though you need to know what that O-line is doing, you need to be able to tell that quarterback what his reads are. You got to be able to, show, hey, what's the depth we're getting on these routes? Like, what are our steps? Like, what are we doing? Running backs, hey, this is where we want our landmarks to be. Like, you got to be able to do that when you're OC, even though, yes, the blocking schemes are important. You got to know pass pro, but your responsibility is you got the whole offense, and you got to tell people what they're doing, and you got to lead the assistant coaches. You can't assume they know things. Even though I've been around some really good assistant coaches, I think you are the OC leading, and you got to lead them to what you want the offense to be.
That makes sense. Do you think it's harder for O-line guys to learn what's behind them, or do you think it may be harder for maybe quarterback and receiver guys to learn like the offensive line play?
I tell you where I think as O-line coaches, and I don't want to take this and somebody go another way with it, but I really believe a lot of O-line coaches don't want to learn the passing game. They don't want to learn, what are coverages? Hey, what are they doing? Like they don't. And my thing was, I felt like it helped me as a coach. Like, when I go to talk with Coach Carter now, like I know what Y cross is. Like I know these things. Like I know what he wants to run. Shallow, we run shallow cross, we run a dagger, we run a digs, like I know what he's talking about.
Right.
And I feel like now as O-line coaches, there's a lot of people that they want to be the O-line coach and they don't want to learn the other avenues of offense.
And I think at the very minimum, understanding what the defense is trying to do and how the entire offensive scheme you're calling affects that. So it's like, if you're running like half man, half combo, and you're worried about this backer coming right here, if you understand what the defense is trying to accomplish, but what else is going on in the offensive play, maybe you're not worried about that guy because you have something built in for that guy. And I think that's your point. It's like, I think young coaches, obviously you come in, you're a new coach, learn one position. But if you have aspirations of growing, like you said, you have to understand every position, because if not, what you run into is you're a coordinator and you're saying, for example, in simple terms, hey, we're running outside zone. Well, you didn't give any insight to the receiver coach. How do we want to block on the edge for outside zone? What is the running back's alignment and the mesh? You don't know any of that. And it's not just as simple as, hey, I'm going to teach the OL how to run it and y'all figure it out. Like, there's so much room for miscommunication there.
Yeah, even branching out to like RPOs or even play action too. I think those are just big things that you may miss if your OC is not willing to kind of teach. And I think about, like, I'm the OC, so it's my job to kind of teach maybe more holistically, maybe than just a position group or maybe just a technique. It's like if they can put that technique into context, I think it helps them explain things to the players. Like, this is why we have this particular set on a play action versus, a set on a traditional like read set or whatever it is. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense, man. So Coach, being in this this coaching world for a while, like who are some of the mentors in your life that kind of poured into you? Have you picked up any habits from those guys as you've gone through?
Man, I've had some good mentors. I mean, I started out with Jason Fowler. I worked with him for a while, and he was at East Meck, and he went to Rocky River. He was the head coach, so I worked with him. And, he did a good job mentoring me. He actually was the one that told me about, as far as, hey, you need to stop just looking at offensive line. You need to venture out to other places. And at first I was like, you know what, I don't know if I want to do that. But after I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. It's a challenge. I went to receivers, and, I want to deal with some of them because, like, hey, I never dealt with those type of kids. So it was actually nice to go over there, and I kind of brought a O-line mentality a little bit, but you had to be different because they're different kids. So it helped me grow as far as, hey, you might be able to do that O-line, but like there's going to be days you can't do that at receiver. Like you just can't do that. So that was real big with me. And then we had a really good O-line coach at Rocky River when I first got there and opened up that school. His name was Robert Parker, man. He was really, really good. He's probably one of the bigger influences I had, man. He played at Page back in the day when they were really good. And he's just been in a lot of places, and he has seen a lot of things, and he knew football, and he taught me a lot of things. And he was really, really good in the weight room too. And he was an open book. He really teach you stuff. He show you stuff on the board. He always wanted to talk football. And he's in his 70s now. He's now a South Carolina coach's kid.
That's cool.
So he really was an inspiration to me, man. Like that guy was really like, he didn't have to be an open book, but he loved offensive line play. That's all he cared about, honestly. Like, he wanted to win like anyone else that's competitive, but that was his baby. That's all he cared about.
No, that's good stuff. I love guys like that, man. Like,
a lot of passion.
So much passion, and they give you such great insight that you may not understand at the time, but the older you get and the longer you're in it, you're like, man, I know exactly what he was talking about. And that's the same with like Bobby. You know, we got Bobby coming on soon, but like, that's how Bobby Carroll is to me. Every single day something pops up and I'm like, well, I know how Bobby was feeling or what he meant now when he said this or that. And but Coach, you're an OL guru. There ain't no doubt about it. Everybody has their own beliefs. Everybody has their own non-negotiables or EDDs or whatever. If we watched your Indy for 10 minutes, what are some non-negotiables we'd see from you and what you think base development of O-line play is?
I mean, number one is footwork. I mean, if you can't get your feet down and you don't know how to step and you don't know what you're doing, I think you're lost. I mean, I always tell people, if people want to talk about hands, it's feet first. Feet always come first. Doesn't matter what else you do. And then you can build off of that. It's feet, then hands. And, you know, we are going to work our footwork. We're going to work on getting our 2 feet down and striking and doing those things. And then my other thing would be fits. Like, how are we going to fit things up? Like, that's a big thing. And knowing how to fit it up with our hands, with our hat placement, with things like that. That's got to be numero uno going into it when we go into 10 minutes individual. Like, I just don't believe. And the other thing I don't believe in, like, you know, guys, when we were growing up, a lot of things we hit were stationary. I really believe I've gotten away from that. And I really believe you got to hit things moving. Like, people that slant, people that blitz, like, that's a big thing. You know, Coach Carr lets me do I script the book each week. And the reason I do it is I want to put blitzes on there. I don't want base. I mean, anybody can block base. I want to put the blitzes. I want to make it hard on the kids because I think if you can block that stuff, base becomes just even easier to me. So I just, that's one of the things that I really believe in that I've gotten away from as I've gotten older, just learning. I mean, you got to be able to block people who move.
That's such good insight too. Like, cause you're a force through the ground guy, right? Like, you believe in drive catch and it's not a kick slide, it's drive catch. Like, you got to force through the ground to get back. And I think what you hit on that's very underrated, a lot of people don't, is how you fit the block in your head placement. Cause like, I'm a big, when we're running zone guy, teaching them how to get their head to the zone side, because if not, that's how double teams get split. That's how guys cross over your face into the gap. But no, that's good stuff, Coach.
How do you, yeah, Coach, how do you take like your Indy throughout the week? Let's say, you know, you have a game plan in. How do you structure your Indy kind of each week, or do you have everyday stuff, or do you guys have periods in practice where you'll work specific things?
I kind of did like this on structure. I'll go footwork, and then we'll go fits and hand placement things, and then we go straight into double teams. Like, we're going to learn, but we actually will hit hip to hip first. And we'll fit up, and we're going to work 2 backers. We're going to, work our communication, and we're going to get in pods and do that. Like, we're going to go center guard tackle, tackle tight end. And then we will actually work. So, like, what I did with Aubrey, like, when I talked to Coach Carter about it was, I really like breaking it down like this. And I know some people like it, some don't. Like, on Monday, we'll do all zone. And then Tuesday will be gap. And then Wednesday, we'll mix it up, because in my opinion, I can get so many more reps, because I'm running zone that day. And I can get more reps, and I can get the fronts I need to see them to see, and the techniques we need for them to do. Like, I just think it gets more reps, and them kids are not having to think as much.
Right.
And I know coaches like, well, you know, well, you got to mix up the game. I get that. But at the same time, if you want to get all the reps you want, I think it works better that way, in my opinion, that we've done it.
So do you go like, if it's a zone day, do you go against like maybe their rhythm front and then maybe their adjustment front with zone in that one day, and then the next day, same thing with gap?
Yep, the same thing with gap.
I do the same thing. I actually do the same thing. And
that's what we do.
Seems to put it in better context. Like if we're running versus a 4-man front and their adjustments an odd front, we'll do the same thing.
Yep.
The same type of run versus both of those fronts in the same day. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Oh, I like the validity in that, because when you spin it from the defense side of the ball, let's say we see a team that runs 6 formations. We're not looking at all those formations on day one. You know what I mean? Whatever they primarily do, the first 2 or 3, that's the first thing we're going to see. So it's like, I think it's the same thing if you spin it. Hey, we're going to take this run concept and our tags off of it and run it versus all the front combinations we can get.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing. Hey, we're going to take these 1 or 2 formations and run all of the things we plan on running against that. So yeah, I like it that way. I know me and Jamie's I think we've probably all tried everything, but just selling out, hey, it's just going to be a zone day and try to screw them up. But Coach, you said something that I kind of think I knew, but like you brought it to fruition. Don't block stationary things. Like, don't block the stationary things. And I'm going to take that comment from this conversation, because like one of my favorite things to do is double team pods, but we can get better because it's like, I just shade him and he's just firing off. Like we need to move him, like what an actual guy's going to do if they're not a hands-on. So I wrote that note down for sure.
Yeah. I'll tell you, man, I started doing this probably about 4 years ago, but you know, I stopped when we went to spring ball. I know we used to do a lot of 4-man stuff. Like we would just, you know, start easy. I tell you what I started doing. I told Carter, I'm like, scrap it. We're going 3-man. I want to learn from 3-man and then on, because I think for kids, 3-man, there's so many interchangeable parts with a 3-man front. For kids, it can be confusing at times. And I think if you can start them early and build off of that 3-man and get in the 4-man, I think it just becomes easy for the kids.
I never thought about that. I
just really do. Because the 3-man, I can run a tight front. I can run an odd. I can run a stack. There's so many variations with the 3-man. And then there's so many moving parts with the 3-man.
Right. Yeah, I like that. I mean, that makes sense. We usually start with the 4-man, and then when we go odd, I'm always kind of trying to refer back to the 4-man. Hey, this is we're going to treat this like under, you know, or something like that when we're kind of fitting up, like for out or whatever, you know, ace into freaking whoever. But like, that's kind of how I got to think about that. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Just kind of make it harder early and maybe make all the checks, and then you can kind of go, hey, this is 4-man. Like this is basically odd. You know, if it's like an under front or an over front, it's kind of like
it probably makes you reinforce the rules of the scheme better if you start odd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like teaching, like when you teach zone, you know, for example, like when you run inside zone, if they're in a 4-man front, your play side tackle is always out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But if you start with that guy head up, now it's zone rules for everybody across the board. It's not automatically out. So that's a good point.
What do you guys one thing? So, Coach, do you guys at Marvin? Do you guys run an odd front or a 4-man front on defense?
We'll do a mixture. We'll do a mixture.
Good. Like so you can kind of see it like early, like in
when we had Nahum, man, he would run the tight front 4-man. He would mix it up on us, and he would even go bear some in certain packages. So it helped us. I will tell you this, it really helped us as far as being able to see different fronts early.
Yes.
And not be so connected to, hey, this is a 4-man front. That's all we're seeing. And it also made us have to be better at making calls and also knowing the front, because he was going to change it and you better be ready. Because, I mean, Mike was really good at, hey, if I can confuse the line, I got a good chance.
Yep.
And I know when we talked this offseason, I was talking to you a little bit about going primarily 4-man, mixing some 3-man, but just stemming. Because I hadn't stemmed as much in the previous, and starting 3-man, get to 4 quick, and then starting 4 and get out to 3.
Yeah.
And I think if you do that, so like for example, me and Jamie are on the same staff. If I incorporate that at practice, it's only going to make them better because they're seeing all of those things. But yeah, that's good. So before we get going, we want to shout out to one of our sponsors, Team Builder. We're talking about all these adaptability things, and that's what Team Builder is. If you're still using spreadsheets for your athletes, man, time to level up. Team Builder's great. You put everything into the system, and it makes the things for you. Plug your exercise in, type in your program, and it's there for the whole semester, for the whole season, in season or out of season. Free 30-day free trial with the promo code CoachSpeak, and every school I've been at in the past 10 years has it, including Coach Leggett School. They use it as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. Yeah, so we're going to go into the second segment. Coach, you've been talking about your Indy and kind of your overall philosophy of how you train OL on campus, but talk to us a little bit about your Finnish OL Academy and why you kind of started it and how it's going.
Biggest thing why I started, guys, honestly, is I felt like in the area and even in the state of North Carolina, people were undervaluing offensive line play. I thought it was getting undervalued. I thought, when I first got to Charlotte in 2010, I really saw the spread offense blow up. It really went from a period of time where everybody was doing 7-on-7, everybody was in 2x2, 3x1. They were, doing air raid, and I saw it blow up. But I saw a lot of attention going to, the skills and the quarterbacks, and there wasn't much going on for offensive line stuff. So, I started, and I really was the big thing for me was technique. And I felt like there was a lot of kids not being taught technique. And I felt like a lot of kids were, they didn't have the time at their high school because maybe they didn't have a coaches for it. Or they didn't, maybe they had off-campus coaches and they couldn't be there. And, I just felt like it was something I really enjoyed doing. And I really wanted to help kids out as much as possible as I can, because I think that group in high school football right now is the most undervalued position group there is. And I think it's just, I don't even know if it's close right now.
And probably the position group that needs the most developing,
Yes.
Based on athleticism, but also like you grow up running, you grow up catching a ball. You don't grow up tackling people and blocking people. It's like, and I think it's great because, one, we've all coached OL at some point. It's the best position to coach. And now you've found a way to develop these kids, but you get to be around O linemen all the time. You know what I mean? It's like you're around the best kids. Coach, you train all the way from middle school all the way to professional. And so I guess, how do you try to change your progressions up to focus on the skill level that you have? Like what is your kind of belief in that?
I think my belief is start out in middle school, and I'll say this right now. I think the biggest thing when you get in middle school is stance. You need to have a foundational stance. You need to have a strong stance. And I think we lose sight on that for those kids. Like, we jump in, we try to teach them pass pro. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but we're trying to teach them pass pro, and they're dropping back and doing 3-step drops in middle school level. And you're trying to say, well, a middle school offensive lineman, we can't hold up. Like, we're talking about middle school offensive lineman now. Like, and I see these quarterbacks, they're like, well, they're getting killed. I'm like, well, do we know pass set rules? Do we know how to teach this? Like, no, probably not. And so, like, I really believe that. And when we get into it, like, I'll tell you, I build everything from stance. We're going to build on that, our steps and run game. And then I will slowly get them into pass pro, because pass pro, in my opinion, in middle school, it's like a foreign language to them. They don't know, and they've never been taught the right way. And so you got to really ease that in, and you got to really do it methodically. Like, hey, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it slowly, but we're going to learn how to do it the right way. And I think that's a big thing. High school, I will say this, if I get a kid, it depends on where they've been and their skill level, what offense they're in. If I get a kid that's been maybe in nothing, and I don't want anybody wing tee guys to talk, but if they've been in the wing tee and you're doing a pass pro, like, they might need to be with more of my developmental group so I could teach them, I can't go as fast with them. Like, I got to break it down all the way from the beginning to be able to help them. And then,
so what do you mean, Coach? We're going backwards? No, we go that way every play. Like, what do you mean go backwards?
Yeah. And I mean, like, even with my high school groups, we break it off. I got more of a developmental, and then I got more advanced group. And with the advanced group, you can do more. Like, you can do half line pass pro. You can work on sorting. You can work on things that they're good at, like independent hands. You can work on these things. And I think some of that stuff people don't realize, like, you can build tools off of it with them. But then when you get to college, high school, man, you can do a lot of things. Like they've been taught well for the most part. They know what they're doing. They know what they're looking for. But something I've learned even with the pros is they just want consistency. Like they want consistency. They want to know that you know what you're doing, but they want you to be consistent. And I think that's big when you get on that level of, hey, everybody wants to do this. What's this new fashion? Or, man, it all comes back down to fundamentals at the end of the day. It might be a different way, but I'm not here to do what's the new fashion? Like we need to get better at things that we already done before.
And it's so hard because like the college and pro guys, they understand the monotony is a good thing. Just continue to be good at what we're good and make sure that we're where we're at. And like middle schoolers, we all know the attention span of middle schoolers, but high schoolers are like that as well. And it's funny. You're like, when middle schoolers come to you, you got to start from the ground up. Well, I can't tell you how many times we've been in a school where 9th and 10th graders are at the same level as a middle school kid.
Yeah.
And it's not that maybe the middle school isn't in alignment with the same scheme, but even if it is, you have 3 to 5 middle school coaches. You know what I mean? Like, and the guy who's coaching OL is probably coaching DL, and it's all get off the ball and move people, and it's like, so, and that kind of ties into why JV coaches are so important. You know what I mean? Because they have to evaluate and say, whoa, scheme we ain't even worried about scheme right now. We got to get these kids ready in a year or two to be able to play at the varsity level. And that's why feeder programs, I think, are so important.
And I can't imagine, I think it's the hardest position to fill is the offensive line position. Obviously, I can't imagine trying to find that at middle school.
Yeah, it's almost. I mean, Marvin, man, we've been blessed. Like we've had some really good parents that have come in, and they've either played a position or their child's there, but they really want to come help. And we've been blessed in that department. I will say that. Sometimes you don't get that in a lot of areas. You just don't. And it's like I tell people are like, well, we need this in middle school. I'm like, listen, let's talk about middle school. They don't get paid.
Yeah.
You're asking, you want some big time coach to be in middle school. Like that's not going to happen. They're putting their time and effort out for free, and they're doing your kid a service. Like they're trying to help him as much as possible.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's the hardest thing. And coach, so you've been doing this for a while. What do you think has been, I know you talked about consistency, but what keeps people coming back? Like and also I guess what's made your business grow? I mean, how do you do your outreach?
I think the biggest thing is technique, man. Like I'm big on the details. I think technique's a big one. One thing I try to pride ourselves on is I want our technique to look as good as anyone else, like I do. And I think that's a thing about us that I feel like can be different than others. Like we're gonna look at the details, and we got a lot of tools to be able to use, but we're going to be the best we can technical wise at anybody else that has it out there. We try to be, and I think that's why people come back. And I've been in the city for a while too. I've been in here since 2010. People know me. I try to be honest with everybody. I don't try to sugarcoat it. I try to help out people as much as I can and be honest. And I think people appreciate that. Like you can't, if you try to tell the kids something that's not true, they're going to know it. They're not dumb. They know. And even parents, like I tell people all the time, some people can really, parents probably have, and I say this and I don't want to be, you can fool a parent before you can fool a player. You can fool them before you can fool a player. A player's going to know like, hey, this guy, he knows what he's talking about, or he's not going to try to fool me.
Yeah.
But with parents, like that can happen.
Yeah. And the sad part is there are people out there that work in the same line of work, maybe not OL play, but that take advantage of parents.
Oh,
like
100%.
Like, oh, I know this little Tommy kid ain't ever going to play a snap of football at the high school level. But guess what? I'm gonna keep him coming back. I'm gonna keep him coming back, and
you just need 30 more sessions, and
encourage 30 more.
And we
you know
got
what I mean?
the special session and like all this crap, and then you're probably gonna get a scholarship, probably.
Well, and I think that's the disservice. Right now we're at this place with with the training right now is, if a kid wants to play college football and he can play college football, there's a lot of avenues to play college football, but we need to give them the honest truth. Okay, you can play, but it might be Division III, or it might be Division II. It's
a
not
realistic outlook on maybe their projection. And I think they probably have a lot of you probably have a lot of credibility in that. One, you've played, and two, you've seen so many kids go through where they've placed in these areas. And now with recruiting, man, a kid that used to go to App State is now going to go to Wingate, which isn't bad. It's just that's the nature of it, and sometimes it's still hard for that parent to understand that.
And I'll say this too, like, because I do the recruiting stuff at Marvin, and I had to tell people, we had an offensive lineman, he had 30 plus offers, but there's levels to this. Like he was a really good player. He was 6'5", 280, but everybody was like, well, he didn't have a Georgia Bama offer. Again, I said there's levels to this, and people don't understand that's the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah,
and it's kind of hard for people to fathom. Like, they were like, well, Coach 6'5", 280 is big. I said, no. You don't understand what they're recruiting. You have no clue.
Size is part of it, but it ain't everything.
7', 315, and that's where you're They are recruiting future first rounders.
Yes.
It's a different level kid. Then there's only probably 10 of them. And
I'll never forget when Stacy Searles came to our school, and he looked at the kid and he said, man, I really like him. He's a good player. He's going to have to play center for us. And when you see it, we've all seen it. You know how big some of these guys. But when the coach says that, it makes it even more perspective. Like, oh my, these guys,
different world.
They're just different, man. Different. They call species for a reason. They just different, man.
Yeah, and it's like so. Like this year, when our head coach, he had our parent meeting. He kind of let a couple coaches cover some things, and one of the things I talked about with parents was grades and recruiting, and it's so important to highlight. There's no absolutes. We have 2 DB coaches on staff that both played in the league. One played at Power 5 South Carolina at the time. One played Division II, and they both made it. Like, there's no absolutes. It's like, and that was even, years ago. And it's like, understand that don't sleep on the different levels of ball. It may be where you fit now, but that doesn't mean it can't get you where you want to go. And going as a walk-on, which is not a bad thing, but going as a walk-on and not ever getting to play versus going and playing and developing at D2, that may be the difference in you getting a shot at the next level. Yeah. It's like, so, but
it's almost better to go where you're wanted, not necessarily where you want to go. And that's so hard for people. And that's, we talk about all the time. But Coach, now you're doing the strength and conditioning there too. Talk a little bit about maybe some movements that correlate kind of with the OL and their development too.
I'm glad you brought it up. I think a lot of things that we've tried, and we've all done it, is we've tried to do a lot of one leg stuff, a lot of unilateral stuff. And I think it's really helped Art, especially with the linemen and stuff. It's really helped him out a lot. Everybody says, well, you got a back squat. And I like back squat. I like front squat. I like it all. But, everybody thinks, well, 2 legs, you're going to get stronger from that. Honestly, you find out which leg is weaker than the other, because a lot of people don't realize that when you do all the unilateral stuff. And I think it's really helped us being more explosive, being able to be, honestly, be able to get off the ball. Because everybody thinks you got to have 2 feet down, and you do when you block somebody. But when Dustin said it a while ago, hey, putting force in the ground, being able to put through our insteps, that force in the ground and take away, that's really, I'm pushing off of 1 foot. And I think the same thing when we're in the weight room, when we do Bulgarians and we do split squats and we do these variations, I think it's important. It's just very important for us to be able to do that. And I think that gets lost in the weight room some now, everybody wants to do. And a lot of people are going to the 1 leg stuff, but I think a lot of people still do a lot of 2 leg stuff, a lot of bilateral stuff. And it's still good. Don't get me wrong. You need to do it, but that's been one thing I liked about us, where we do a lot of unilateral stuff.
Yeah. And I don't remember who I talked to, but about 5 or 6 years ago, it may have been longer than that, they asked me, they said, hey, question for you. I said, yeah. They said, on the football field, other than right before the ball snapped, when else in the game are they on both feet at the same time?
Yeah.
And I started thinking about that thing. I was like, all right, receivers are running, quarterbacks are in their drop, linemen are pass setting or driving. I'm like, dude, whoever said that, I don't remember who it was.
And the way you teach tackling now too is near foot. What I mean? It's all
power through the near foot.
Exactly. And so I'm huge on unilateral work, especially in like our power and speed phase.
Mhm.
And even in that now during the season, man, we use tsunami bars for all that too. And
Yeah.
so like we want to be able to increase the force and all that. And they're a sponsor of ours. And we tell people all the time, like, if you're not using the tsunami bar, I think you're behind or something like that. But tsunami bar does it better than anybody. They have
Yeah.
the science that backs it up. There's tons of oscillation that happens with these bars. We did them today. We actually did split squats today with our guys. We've done one of my favorite is like the jumping split squat
Mhm.
with all of our
Yeah.
athletes. I mean, the
Yeah.
amount of force that thing,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, that thing is smacking down. And I just like to hear the clack in the in the weight room. But man, anything you guys want to do with Tsunami Bar, please reach out to our contacts. They're in the show notes. Huge sponsor of ours. We believe in them. Again, we use them every day. I know you guys hear it a lot on the podcast, but man, we really believe in that. And the things that Coach is talking about, the unilateral work that you can get, the stability, the power, the force, all those things. And then even using them, we use them also like sports specifically too,
Mhm.
where we could pass that with them. We can do a lot of those things to be able to increase that sport force. But if you guys are interested, please reach out to Chad Smith at Tsunami Bar Sports, or reach out to us and we'll get you in contact with.
All right, Coach, something that I'm super interested in terms
Mhm.
of this, I was there with y'all about 3 or 4 months before
Yeah.
some things happened. And when I got there, the first thing I noticed was these guys move weight. And that was something I was excited
Mhm.
about. You can tell a lot about a weight room based on the shoulders. And when I walked in, and obviously y'all have cut off sleeves on, and shout out to T Webb that was there. But when I walked in, I saw a bunch of boulder shoulders. And the other time I've seen that was right before Charlotte Christian beat us like 30 to 10 when I was at Legion. And they all hit the field, and I looked over, they had cut off sleeves on, and they were getting ready to do their band warm up for the game. And I said, every kid looks the same with their
Mhm.
shoulders. I said, these dudes got it. So I guess where I'm getting to, Coach, is as immediately when I walked in, I could tell that y'all do things different. You move a lot of weight, and some schools do and some schools don't. But what would you say is like your favorite field-based power drill that kind of shows up? What do you think that is?
You talking about T Webb. He did an awesome job for us. I'm gonna give him a shout out, man. He's really good. You won't find a better guy in the weight room field. He's awesome. But I think for us, honestly, like we did different variations of the clean. Like we did, as far as ground based power and things like that. Coach Carter did a really good job. Me and him, we went to USAW, got some certifications, and really taught it from the ground up. And I think with that, we made sure to take out some injuries that I know in the past. And, I just didn't, there was things I didn't know when I was young, when I was in there. And I'll be honest with you, I did some dumb things. And then when I got, certified and did some things, we really taught it from the ground up, and we did a really good job of it, doing it going slowly. But, I think too, like, you even look at strength coaches in college now, there's some that ain't even doing a full clean. Like they're doing like fast strugs coming up, like to make it as a clean variation. And I think that we do a very good job of that, but we also do a good job of really attacking the shoulders and that. And Coach Carter's he really, really is big into that. When I first got there, he did a whole lot with his shoulders. And he made sure that, hey, we're going to try not to have shoulder problems, the stingers and things like that. And I think, I already did a lot when I got to Olympic, but I was like, hey, you're going to have somebody that supports you. We're going to really get after shoulders, but also get after cleans. Like we were really power cleans and hand cleans and in different variations with it. But, I'll tell you this much, man, that place has been those kids buy in the weight room. And I think you got to have buy-in when you're in there, man. You really do. You got to have kids where you're not pulling your teeth to get kids to lift. Like I've been on that other end of it too. Like where you got to bring the energy, and you got to be able to, hey, you're bringing the energy more than they are. And they're not wanting to come to work, and you got to get them to work. And it's just different. It's just different. I think those kids at Marvin, they do a really good job, man. They're willing to go in there. They don't say a whole lot now. They don't say a whole lot. They really don't, but they will grind and they go to work. I don't know. That's just what they do. And as a coach, man, you can appreciate that for the kids.
For sure. We had Kyle Jaksic on during our strength week phase, and he's actually at Charlotte Christian now. And he talks about how to build the athletes for the football program. He wants to build what he called heat-seeking missiles. And so he's all about power and speed in the lower body, but he's big on hypertrophy, like in the upper body. He wants to like pack on as much armor as he can, just to mitigate those injuries. But that resonated with me when he said that. So like for me, I always have a lot more volume when we're talking about like the upper body stuff, and then a lot more power and velocity based stuff when it comes to our lower body. But man, it makes a lot of sense, Coach.
Yeah,
really
and that's a big part. I think range of motion and mobility and flexibility are all great things to avoid soft tissue injuries and all that. But like, we had a kid, at my previous school who never missed a weightlifting session, but he never had any size to his upper body, and he sustained shoulder injuries because of that. It wasn't his technique. It wasn't his commitment. It was maybe you could chart it. Some of it was not eating enough, but it's like, but like, here's what I will say, and this might be the most stupidest thing. If I'm incorrect, someone send me the research. But I promise you this: if you lay down under a bench for barbell bench and you do it every single day, which I'm not saying do, your body's eventually going to adapt and build muscle so you can do that. It's like if you walk up a mountain with 100 pounds on your back every day, eventually, regardless of what you're eating, your body's going to prepare itself to handle that. So it's like Jamie said, the volume part for the upper body is so important, because a lot of times the injuries are due to lack of padding, lack of muscle, lack of coverage. And sorry, I didn't mean to get on that tangent, but man, this is good stuff.
I think the other thing too, like compared to when we were growing up and compared to now, I feel like we were getting built to be really big, bulky, not athletes. And now, as something that's changing the corner of, we're building athletes now. And yes, we're going to get bigger, stronger. But the biggest thing is we're building athletes. And like, for me, like, yes, you want to be able to lift heavy weights. That I don't never going to take that away. You got to be able to lift heavy weights. You got to be able to do that. You have, there's ways you got to build it into your program. But at the end of the day, like now we're doing stuff like, what's the speed of the bar? How fast can we get that bar up so we can build speed and build explosion and build force? I think that's big, because, I don't care if you can do 500, but are you coming up slow? Are you doing it slowly coming up? Like, if you're coming up fast, that's awesome. That is awesome. But like, I think that's one thing. And then I think, growing up, guys, when we did speed and conditioning, there wasn't no speed training. That was straight conditioning.
Yep.
And I mean, your central nervous system can't handle that. I mean, it just can't. Like, I'm all about, you got to be mentally, you get stronger, but like at the end of the day, you're not getting faster. You're just not. And I think my mindset changed a lot when going through all this stuff and learning from people of, hey, if you want to build speed, you got to work speed. You can't, and this ain't a conditioning fest. This is not like you going out there trying to run, gassers and all that stuff. Like, we're going to sprint, but we're not going to sprint 100 yards. Like, we're going to sprint 10 yards. We're going to sprint 20 yards. Yep. Hey, because like when people don't understand, you run 10 yards, you're supposed to take a minute rest after you run that 10 yard.
Right.
If you go 20, people 2 minutes. Like, people don't understand that.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. And that's why sport coaches get a bad rep, because they're still kind of back in like the early 2000s and before that, right? Now, and I'm not trying to, say anything, but like, if you got to kind of do your research on this, like, what are we doing this for, right? Is this for conditioning or is this for speed? And I think that's a major distinction, obviously. Yeah. And so like you're saying, there's got to be some rest in there to where you can be at like almost 100% maximal effort. So if we're in the weight room and we're doing plyometrics, well, I had one coach come by and I think we had like a set of 3, and it was like 3 like super dynamic movements, like full speed, 100% max. He was like, man, do 7 or whatever it was. I'm like, no, because if we do 7, like 5 of them are going to suck, and he's actually going to be training to be slower. Like, we're not we're not doing CrossFit here. You know what I mean? Like, we're not doing that. So, and he understood that, but it was just like, there's just it's a piece of it that you just have to kind of talk through and understand that as a strength coach for sure.
Yeah. And the one thing with high school kids beating through their head is when we do this exercise or this sprint, we're doing it for max effort.
Mhm.
Like if we're doing jump squats, like trap bar jump squats, it ain't jump, hit the ground, jump, hit the ground. No, dude, I want you to reset every freaking time, and I want you to explode as hard as you can every time. And like I tell the kids all the time, if we're doing any kind of sprints, and it's like, if you're not sprinting, you're getting slower.
Yeah.
And like one kid asked me, what do you mean? I said, if you're not going full speed and you're just running, I said, you're getting slower because you're training your body to be slower. You're not doing it. But that's where the rest comes in. If you're going to actually sprint, you got to give time for the body to recover so you can go max effort again.
It's like somebody told me, like when I did a lot of learning and stuff, like they're getting conditioning too. Like I think people get confused, like, hey, you're running a 20-yard sprint all out. Like that's part of conditioning too. Like
it's how the game's played.
Yeah,
it's how our
you're
game's
building
played.
that specific energy system, specific for the sport, and I think that's where you have to make the distinction, like you know, with the energy system piece. All right, Coach, I think we're ready for rapid fire, man.
All right,
let's go for it, Dustin.
All right, Coach. So we're getting into the teaching menu. We're talking about the difference between some different schemes. We want to know kind of where you start with a new room. So you got a new room at OL. Do you believe like in trying to get zone established and then like for an outside run wide zone, or do you think starting off with gap may be a little bit easier for your guys? What do you believe in that room?
Man, that's a great question. That is a great question. Doing it for so long, I tell people like, I don't want to sound arrogant, but either one doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. But if I had to tell someone that is doing it for day one and hey, they've never really done it, gap scheme is probably a little bit easier. I mean, if you really want to talk about it, I think gap scheme is easier. You can block down, you can skip pull, you can kick out, overstep pull. I think for somebody that's doing it day one like that, I just think that it's just much easier for them because with zone, there's just a lot of variables you got to teach. And I think that zone can be especially for younger kids, it can be a little difficult, especially when you've never done it. But if they've been taught at an early age, it's great. Like, yeah, you can do it. But I just think gap was probably just easier for them because probably at a younger age, they've been taught power and blocking down, kicking out, doing those things. But I mean, for me, either one, I really don't. It doesn't matter if Coach Carter, whoever tells me to, we can go in there and teach it. But for someone who has not, I'd probably say gap.
And I think to add to that, I think that's interesting because I think from a mental standpoint, zone's easier to teach day one. But from a technique and movement standpoint, it's harder to run zone on day one.
Yeah.
Gap, it's a little tougher mentally because is it an odd or an even front and how does the rules change? But the down, kick out, down, pull is easier to execute from a technique standpoint.
Yeah. And I mean, zone too, like I don't think people realize like, and I shouldn't say like there's a lot of people in areas in our state that they don't do zone. And the first time they try to run zone, it's kind of like, well, I'm trying to get to this double team or I'm trying to get to this half placement, this fit, and it's just different for them. And you're not teaching people to block down. You're not teaching people to kick out. And I think, again, if you're not done zone, it can be confusing for people if you don't do it. And it's not one of them things like you can just dabble in.
Yeah.
You can't dabble in it.
You can. You have to. And the way we've kind of gotten by with it is we try to teach similar techniques to both on the combo piece.
Yeah.
But it's still different. I mean, it really is. It's the displacement's different. I think gap's always easier to get good at earlier than zone. But I still like to carry zone because I think it kind of gives you a natural counter to the defensive picture.
I honestly think, man, I've been doing this for a while now, and y'all piggy bank whatever y'all think, but the one run scheme I think that's really tough for high school kids and especially backers, and I'll tell you why. If you're good up front and athletic, and especially you got an athletic group, and you can teach wide zone, those backers are not getting down at 45 degrees. And if you can make horizontal displacement and you can make sure where the read keys for the running back are, I mean, dude, it is very tough to stop. It just is. And a lot of people still teach it like, hey, I want I'm going to get to the outside shoulder and I'm just going to automatically turn. So my butt's, no, that's not how wide zone ran. Like if you really study wide zone and things like I deal with 49ers and people that's done it, like it'll blow your mind the way they do things.
Yeah. They want to expand.
Yes.
And then try to find I think we had one hit back in A gap today. Oh, we don't run
that's
wide
awesome.
zone. Never mind. We don't run wide zone.
Yeah, I think our backside defensive end had to make the tackle. And I said,
and he did.
Dude, I'm pretty. Like I'm saying, I was like, dang, dude, it was wide zone. But
y'all fit it well. It was just we had to.
Well, I think the backs, the way y'all teach the backs, they have such great vision. You know what I mean? Because it's like in a way, outside zone is different than wide zone, and wide zone is different than inside zone. And to me, and this could be correct or incorrect, I look at wide zone as it's really inside zone. We're just changing the blocking scheme. We're trying to we can't move them vertically inside the tackle box. We're going to change the angle and let our back make us right. And if we do get a chance to bounce it, great. But bounce it, bang it, or bend it back. Like that's how
we teach
I
that. Very similar to the track. It's not the same track, but they have the same mindset. Like their eyes are in, D, and they're working all the way back to A.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just think it's for the backers and their fits, man. They just, if you're really running it well, it's hard for them to get at 45-degree angle, man.
Especially if they're trying to fit inside runs.
Yeah.
And because it's like if you're a keys guy, if you're reading keys, all right, well, if the guards don't pull or you don't hear any pull, you're like, okay, I have my primary gap. Well, now it's, all right, I have my gap, and now it's fast flow. So now I'm behind a step, was what you're saying. If you have those athletic linemen that can five and decide whether they have the first level guy or they're climbing, it can be really, that's 3 to 4 yards right there. If you
so I'll ask y'all this, because I mean, this is what I think gives wide zone the biggest problem. And I've always said this, and this is my thing. Y'all tell me if I love going against odd fronts with it. I love that. But if you get an over front and that 3 technique is a man,
I can't run.
I'm telling you,
we've said that for years. It's like we typically run way more wide zone against odd front than we do any kind of 4-man front.
But you know what we did this year? If we got an over front this past year, because I had 5 linemen that played so much ball, we started running more to the shade. Like we run to the shade a lot.
He's a slower guy usually. You can, especially have a decent center.
And then the center can reach him. That's a weapon. Like we had a center this past year in a couple of years that could reach him. Now, if we had a dude, I tell you what we started doing. We run to that shade side, and we just X block. We block down with a guard and then pull the center.
Yeah, fold it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if you did some of that stuff where you kind of, if you're running to that 4-man front, you can kind of exchange a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially if you have some athletic guards, like even to the 3 technique. If you have an athletic guard, it just kind of looks like a pin and pull type.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we've done some of that, but man, that 3 technique, if you're going against a dude, man, it's
heck on you, man.
It's so hard, man.
All right, Jamie, hit the next one.
Yeah, Coach, I guess we already kind of talked about my other one. So yeah, fronts or any kind of structure that you think are like the easiest to sort out. Would you say that's like a 4-man front for you?
I would go with 4-man front, in my opinion. I think, kids grow up, they see it the most when they're, especially at a younger age, and then they get up to JV and you see a lot of 4-man fronts. I think the angles are really good for O linemen in 4-man, especially if you're going against dudes, it don't matter.
Right.
And a 4-man front
trumps everything.
Yeah, personnel trumps everything. But I think the angles are really good, and I think kids trust it more. They just trust it more, their angles and knowing where they're going. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I think in odd, man, the toughest thing with odd is you just get those solo blocks that you really, they kind of put you on an island sometimes, especially like in gap. Like the gap scheme stuff, you're kind of having to do what we call like a Momo call or something like that.
What I think odd does the kids, and I really think people don't talk about this enough, is eye discipline. Eye discipline is very big and with odd. And if you got poor eye discipline, you're not going to do well with odd. I think that's really big. And with 4-man, people can run the salmon wheel off the edge. They can do different things. Mike and Will come, you can go double A, whatever you want to do. But with odd, people can come from inside, outside, and you got to have really good eye discipline.
So many moving parts and so many like movable caps at the second level where you're right. Like they can fit it completely different. You know,
Yeah.
they can play a tight front. They can play head up. They can, you know, they can reduce. They can. There's a lot of things that you got to be ready for. And yeah, definitely.
Well, I think at minimum, and anybody listening to this, if you're a 4-down guy and you don't feel comfortable enough, like you don't have the kids or the time or the scheme, you don't know where to start to run odd, I think it's as simple as mixing in. If you're an over front with a 3 and a 2-eye, run the same front, but put that 3 in a 4-eye and put that 2-eye in a shade, because you're kind of getting an odd front, because now they're not doubling the 4-eye. He's on the tackle. So now it's 1-on-1. So it's like Coach, you talked about the eye discipline to sort out the manipulation of the run fit. Well, then you have the 4-man where it's like you ain't sorting anything other than if a backer's coming or not.
Yep.
So to get a hybrid that for cheap, take
like
your
that.
even front, slide the techniques to make it odd techniques. That way, now it's personnel based. Okay, you want to run GT counter to the 3. Well, now you're going to have to block the 4-eye by itself because the guard can't help. So it's like at minimum, still that cheap.
It's a little bit. And if you get trapped, you get trapped. I mean, like it kind of is what it is, you know.
Yeah, there's different things. I really think I'll tell you this: if I was a deep person, you know, last year we were against a lot of good D linemen. That's probably my 16 years of coaching. That might have been the best collection of talent I had to go against last year. But if you got them and you got like talented D linemen, I'm going 4, man, because hey, when you got 4 out there and they can play, buddy, you gonna give people's problems, because now, hey, 3-man, at least I can at least, hey, I can double you in some aspects. I can do some things, but in 4-man and you got multiple ones, it gets a lot harder.
Yeah.
Good luck, pass pro.
Well, it's harder to double both of them. You really have to dial up to inside zone to get 2 doubles. Like you got to make sure.
I mean, last year we played
like a 3 technique and he crosses your face.
I mean, last year when we played Weddington guys, I mean, they had 3 P4s on that D line. I mean, dude, you go in that
and
game,
they look
like,
good. They look good.
I mean, they are. I mean, he's the best. I mean, they got one right now. He's the best D lineman I've ever had to coach against.
Wow.
I mean, he's legit.
There was we coached in that Queen City Bowl. I actually coached with Carter, and there was a Weddington D lineman that was on the team. And I looked at him. I said, "Dang, that kid looks good." And he wasn't one of the kids you're talking about. But
he was a backup.
Backup. And I looked at him, and the way he was using his hands and his feet, I said, "Y'all 2-gap, don't you?" He said, "Oh yeah." I said, "I can tell." Like,
I
what
love it too. I let him line up in the 3. Hey man, whatever gap you want to go into, man. Well, linebackers will make it right, but the linebacker ain't gonna have to. You're gonna make that play.
No, I mean, they've got. I mean, those kids they got, man, they're really good, man.
Different.
They're really good.
Yeah.
They're just different.
Coach, is there any when you're watching film for your OL, are there any like tips, you know, with alignment or personnel or like field boundary tells that you try to help prepare them if you're going to see something I don't want to say untraditional, but just not base, like, hey guys, I was watching film. They like to run this stunt at this certain time. Is there any tells you try to look for to help your OL out?
I think the biggest thing is, obviously, you try to, when you watch film, you want to get what's their favorite thing they like? What do they like to do? And what's their, because you can really get to a point as a coach, hey, well, they ran these 15 different blitz. No, but what blitzes do they like the most? Because if you try to throw too much at a kid and they're trying to remember these things, like, it's just too much for high school kids. So I really think as a coach, you really got to break it down of, what's the tendency? Which ones they like to come the most with? And I'm a field boundary guy. Like, you know, where do they like to come from? How do they want to do it? Because, like, you know, a lot of people like might want to come from the boundary, and you know, we get a tip on that. Or they, you know, if they come from the field, like, hey, where's the safety? Is he capping the nickel? Like, what is he doing? Like, things like we try to get a tip on. And you know, the other thing too, I tell people, if you're going against really good D linemen, you need to watch where hands are, like which hand's down, and how's that hand? What is he doing when that hand's down? How's he gonna play? What's he gonna do? Like you got to know a lot of intricacies when you do that, when you're playing really good teams. And I think that's the big thing we try to tell. And you know, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a 4-man front. Let's say we got the Mike in the box and we got both, you know, Will and Sam out. like we kind of got to tell right now, like we're working in practice. Like, hey, they're probably playing man. They're bringing soft. Okay, you can look at the safeties. You can look at one backers in the box. Like safeties are at 8, or if they're up, like hey, this Sam Will's coming. Like we got to know things like that. But I think that's some of the things we do. I don't try to overload them with a lot of. Well, they ran this one blitz. Okay, they ran it one out of in the 4 games we got one time.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, you don't want to overload them. Are there any blitzes or maybe simulated pressures that you think are the hardest to kind of manage?
In my opinion, I think if you time up AA really well, I mean, you can't. And I mean, it's really, really hard. I think AA, if you can time it up and not walk up and time it up, running backs ain't picking that up.
No.
I was
Is
gonna
that how you
say,
do it? Do you half man, half slide? Is that what y'all's base is? Yeah, we were working that the other day. Like it's really hard for that running back.
And I just think that AA, if you're not walking up and you're coming from depth and you can time it up, I just think it's right at the quarterback.
Face. It's right
in his face, and they don't like, and you know, any quarterback don't like. Hell, nobody likes that.
Even
but,
if you get it fitted up, man, it's still, man. Like
the running back's going to move back a yard or two.
Yep.
It doesn't matter because he's going 2 yards at contact, and the other guy has 7 of full speed at him.
You know, there's some people like you talk about us, like if we get a AA and they walk up, like we might do a full slide. And I know some people are like, why put the back on the end? And they're like, well, why would you do that with a bigger? I'm like, well, you think about it. Hey, it's not as close to the quarterback. I don't trust, like in NFL, they do that where they'll have the running back meet that A gap guy. But like those guys are bigger, they're stronger, they're in the league for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're meeting that guy when they're going to meet that dude. In high school, man, you ain't got a lot of backs wanting to meet that guy. They just want to sit back there, and by the time they sit back there, they're going to be in the quarterback's lap. So I really believe that's one of the blitzes, man. I always tell people, if you can time that blitz up, it's just really, really hard for people. It just is.
And, you know, to comment what you said earlier, understanding the different parts of the game as an OL coach, it's easier for you to find a tendency on what the defense is doing because they may bring these pressures out of this formation set, but they like to do it out of this, and that's where that field boundary comes in. Hey, they may be a boundary team versus 2x2, but when it goes to trips, are they overloading and having to bring it strong? And like you said, you don't want to overload your OL to say, hey, what formation are we in? But it can also help them. Hey, guys, and Zeb talked about this a while back, they call out their front, and then they talk about how many backers are in the box. So it could be a tale of, hey, man, when they're in a 4-2, there's a chance weak side's coming. But anytime they're bossed and there's guys over the center and we have a guy over the tackle, strong side's going to be coming. And I think something like that could help.
I think the other big thing, like I was actually listening. Well, I read it because he was on Twitter. Jim McNally, he made a good point. I never thought of it like this. And he says a lot now. You get on there, he's tweeting all kinds of stuff. But
all caps.
Dude, he isn't. He made a good point though. I was thinking about it. He's like, if you're in a 2x2 formation, let's say, and you're just 2x2, that's harder for O linemen than it is 3x1. Because in 2x2, they can come anywhere. They can come from both. In 3x1, you kind of already know. Yep.
They already had to make an adjustment, so they can only do so much.
Rotate and bring it strong, or they can play too high or rotate.
And he was like, in the league, like he was talking about the league, and he was like, you getting 2x2, man. Like there's just so many games you can play out of that. And
because there's so many ways.
2x2. I mean, there's so many coverages, so many blitzes, or so.
But if they do, they're dressing it up to get to it. They ain't going to.
I told this a lot of people the other day. Like everybody, I remember when 2x2 used to be king. Like everybody used to love it. But here's the problem with 2x2 too. And now I'm gonna say this: if you ain't got 4 dudes at quarterback, at receiver, and you ain't got a quarterback that can move, you're in trouble. You're in trouble, in my opinion. You're in trouble.
Yeah, it's difficult.
I can't remember who the DC was at the Ravens. I can't remember who it was, but he did a clinic on just like cover 3 sims and how many times when he was there at the Ravens, how many times they just played 3 deep, 4 underneath, but they had like 7 ways of running it. And every clip he showed was out of 2x2. It was just I'm pretty sure one time they dropped the 3 technique as a hook player. And I was like, dude, let's do that in high school and see how that goes.
Well, even like playing like match teams, like I'm never in 2x2.
Yeah.
I'm going to get them into skate, going to get them into some Mabel, like whatever, but like Seahawk, but I'm not going to sit there and let them match.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
You can't complete anything.
No.
It's like everything is covered, but yeah, man.
Well, Coach, this has been great, man. I got nuggets I'm gonna take and go sleep on tonight, and man, like this is exactly why we created this. We hope the listeners are getting stuff, and at the very minimum, I know that me and Jamie got stuff. I see when he writes, and I'm over here writing. It's like
I got a whole page of stuff over here now.
This is great, man. And it's like, I talk with you 3 to 4 months, probably 2-3 times a week, and it's like it's just crazy. We still can talk, and I pick up things that we talked about a lot, and that's what I told Jamie. I said, man, Leggett, we got to get him on. I said, that man. I said, dude, he can carry a good conversation, and it's value. It's not just talking. It is value. So
good ball.
But we appreciate you being on, Coach.
Man, I appreciate y'all having me, man. I appreciate what y'all doing, man. This is pretty cool. When y'all first came on, I was like, man, it's cool to have people that are local that and they're doing something for the better cause of football, for just our education, but also to grow, man. This has been awesome. I appreciate what y'all been doing this, man.
Well, we appreciate it, Coach. Guys, we'll have all of Coach's information in the show notes if you're interested in Finnish OL. One of the best in the area, man, if not the best. So also shout out to our sponsors, Team Builder 30-day free trial with Coach Speak promo code. Also, we have Pro Quick Draw 7-day free trial with Tsunami Bar Sports. Make sure you reach out to them. And then we also have Team Builder as well. So
thanks for tuning into the Coach Speak podcast. If you're interested in being a guest speaker on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at coachspeakpodcast1@gmail.com. And if you have a question for our Q&A segment, don't forget to submit it through the form in the episode description. We appreciate your support, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.